And I believe that we can all come together and put our heads together and find these answers for the needs of our people and for the needs of our land. And when we're up against something that, brick walls that happen, the force of all 8 of us together can create a momentum that can't be stopped. And that's what I believe is very important in every effort that we have together, is putting our heads together, putting our great minds that we bring, our experiences, and moving forward for our shareholders, for our families, for our future generations. Thank you.
I'm on down. All right. Jolene's question is about having other companies come in and do the plug for us. We're set up to do the plugging. The only thing we don't have is if somebody gets hurt on the job, that falls back on those Osage Minerals Council, which I think needs to be addressed, where we have something to cover the people that are working in the field. And I work for the well plugging community, or well plugging. And we plugged a lot of wells already. And I'm not bragging, but I think I've plugged them way cheaper than anybody else has or worked on them. And I don't think we need anybody else doing our business. I don't believe in that. I think we need to take care of our own, take care of the shareholders, and most importantly, take care of the shareholders and cover our workers. And I believe that's what Jolene is asking about. We don't need anybody else to plug the wells. We can do that ourselves. That'll be done anyway. And that's what that is.
Here on 1 minute rebuttal.
Yes. The one thing about the Osage Minerals Council is that we are umbrellaed under the Osage Nation, which protects us from sovereign immunity of being sued. That is the plus to this. Also, through this program, we have also found, through the work efforts of the team that we have out there in the field every day, is that we have found wells that are still producing. And I'm not going to steal the thunder from, I know that I see Councilman Rick pointing in the back there. And we found that there is 90 million, is that about right? That we recovered. Now times that by what we're getting the price today, that is a successful program. You know, if something was at high risk, I don't think that we would do that, but I think that it's a great program and we'll continue to advocate for money to go into it. Thank you. When we speak of liabilities and injuries, that's a priority. That's a priority for policies and procedures. If these processes aren't in place, they need to be put in place because we have to protect our own. Not only are we protecting the minerals estate, apparently we're protecting all of the people involved that we bring in under our umbrella of structure. And to put these efforts in place, we need to solidify our policies and procedures and just look at those. I believe that that will help motivate and also bring some momentum to the council for other things that need to be done as well. Thank you.
Another thing is, we're collecting information off these wells as we go, and we have some companies that are coming in and can't get information to the BIA, and they're asking us for information. And we've already got one new company coming in that's coming here, and they're ready to explore for oil, but they can't drill. They have to go to the old wells in because the superintendent, she's just a middleman. You need to go upstairs and talk to the big boys, get everything lined out.
Okay, and then for the second question out of the hopper, 2 minutes to respond, starting with you, Ms. Merrill. I have just one thing to discuss with my co-moderator before we start this one. All right, second question, again, this is for you, Ms. Merrill. How should the Osage Mineral Council work with the Office of the Chiefs? 2 minutes to respond is from Marcia Harlan in Hominy, Oklahoma.
I think that the Osage Minerals Council needs to work with the executive branch. We need to know what the executive branch, their vision, for us to be able to have our vision. I know that these are 2 separate bodies, but that doesn't mean that we can't work together. I don't see, well, I do see division. I see a lot of division. And that's unfortunate. I believe that our branches of government are all working for the same thing, which is the betterment of our people. And I believe that if everybody has that agenda at the top of their priority list, and they keep it there, then I believe that we can all work together, regardless of the differences that we have. We can come to the table, we can make decisions, we can argue even, but it's the way that we do it. And if we do it in our hearts, and if we do it with clear minds, back to our generations. My grandpa did this in 1953. He did this before I was born. We're doing this for people who are not born yet either. That's the honor that I feel standing up here, is being able to do that and take part in that and experience this for our people. Thank you.
How should the Osage Minerals Council work with the Office of the Chiefs?
My understanding is that Osage Minerals is by itself. It does not have to use the chief staff and him. The Minerals Council needs to take it on their own, which they haven't done in the last, since 13 or 14. Nobody's made an attempt to go and do anything about it. I have an understanding, I have a lawyer in Washington D.C. is Jackson Hole, and I understand he's telling me some things now that he's been watching or looking at. The Osage Mineral Council is for the shareholders. Sure, we can use advice or information that the chief gives us in his staff, but the Minerals Council needs to take care of the shareholders that it's being elected for. And that's all I can say, thank you.
I'll say this, I started out with, sorry about that. When I first got on council, one of the things we talked about is bridging the gap. We had people say, we want you all to communicate. That way we're on the same page. I was glad in my efforts that we were able to have, we've had, I think, believe 4 or 5 joint meetings of the Office of the Chiefs, Osage Congress, and the Osage Minerals Council. Not once, not twice, many times. There's times we've gone over there and we've talked directly with Chief. And when we needed it, In fact, he just signed off, we submitted 4 grants just this past week that were all uploaded, that come up to almost like $5.5 million. He signed off on it. We can't sign off on it. We are an independent agency underneath the nation, but he still has to sign those out because his relationship with the federal government, they look at who's the head of the tribe. So I'm not sure where I'm hearing that there's been conflict, but I can tell you when I need to have an answer on, in fact, just recently, they extended that grant for another 3 weeks. We have a grant that's ready, and I've already talked to the chairman and to the chief and said, I think we have one more. Talk to the governance office. So we know that there are things that we work together on. When it's a collective issue, and I can tell you this, our fight isn't amongst each other. It's down there in Oklahoma City. And we have to stand together because it is imperative that we come together with a united voice. I have no problem talking to the chief, and I don't know where that came from. Thank you.
Okay, we are at 1 minute rebuttal, starting with you, Ms. Merle.
I believe that coming to the table and talking doesn't necessarily mean that everybody gets together and not separate. I believe that the Minerals Council was formed to continue what the council was doing to protect the minerals estate. I believe that that falls wholeheartedly on our shoulders to do. That's important to me. It's important as a shareholder. I wouldn't be a shareholder if I hadn't lost, and that's how that goes. My family is sitting back there in support of me. I don't have my brothers any longer. This is important to step forward and do this for all of you. I think that we can do this, and I think that we can not be divisive. Thank you.
I think I got it then. Listen to this about the grant. I don't think any of these grants were billed until this last 6 or 8 months. I don't think I've seen any action in the 3 years before that. And no action taken against the BIA or the federal government. And my understanding is that Donald Trump signed the legislation that will help us, and I'll explain that more here in a little bit. Thank you.
When we talk about how we work together, and it's not going to matter who's ever going to, when a new Congress comes in, or the outcome of the chief, we're still going to be working with the chief. He's the one who has the binding relationship with the federal government on signatures. Congress doesn't. We don't. When we need to go and have a collective vote, our chairman and the chief go to DC. Now, during COVID, believe me, we planned on attending and going with, but we weren't able to do that. With national organizations like the National Congress of American Indians, when we had the American Burying Beetle issue, we let him know, look, we've got a resolution, we're going to pass it. They want to know if the elected leader of that tribal nation is on board, and yes, he was. So when we had the White House Tribal Nation Summit, we were all on that call. He turned around and said, okay, well, you'll have to find that out later.
Okay, we're gonna do the final question from the hopper. Gonna start with you, Mr. Patterson, and just a heads up that because we have 3 folks up and do the rotation, I'm gonna stay on you for final comments first as well, just a preview. Don't wanna catch you too much off guard. All right, first question, or the final question, excuse me. What would you do differently to improve the transparency of the Minerals Council? Don, Vanette, Dallas, Texas.
First thing I do is make sure that the rules are all followed. I think from what I see, there's a lot of things to get you tightened up. Everybody get in together, show up for work instead of on Zoom. I know Zoom because of the COVID and everything else, to show up for every meeting and every day and work. That's just how I was brought up. But if you can take off and go wherever you want to, I don't think you should do that. I think you should be there at work, you're hired to do something, and that's what you should do. And that's my answer, thank you.
These are our closing comments. Oh, go ahead and repeat that question.
Apologies, I was just trying to clarify the flow before we got there, and it's just that there's 3 candidates.
Right.
Okay, so this final question is, what would you do differently to improve the transparency of the Minerals Council?
Oh, absolutely, that's an easy one. Ethical governance. That's what's needed across the board. And the reason I say that is because we are accountable to our shareholders. You know, we've heard how everyone is like, we want to show everything. People want to know how we're spending our budget. Believe me, it's only a $1 million budget. There's not much there to see. That's why we have to go out and advocate for more money. Because we are running a multi-billion-dollar mineral state on $1 million. It doesn't go far. So I would say the ethical governance. I would also say we have been successful in doing I think maybe we could even do a monthly. We're doing them online. It cuts the cost of us sending the mail out. Let you know what we're doing. And yes, I am one of those people who are in the office. It's important to be there. It's important to make sure that we know that what's going on day to day. When you're researching the grants, they just don't magically appear. We don't use the grants department. It's research, development, and technical writing. I've already wrote 4 and get ready to write another one. And what does that mean when you're writing grants? That means we're bringing in more money to be the surplus, the backfill that we need. When we want to go, we want royalty plus. Royalty plus is this. The transparency is that we have the ability to be in business. We have a group that we're working with right now. It's my colleagues. We did a strategic plan and we said we want to get in business. The nation's strategic plan says, Minerals Council, exercise that resource and monetize our mineral estate. If we're in business, you're going to get a royalty off the oil, 20%, gas, 20%. Gosh dang it. Lindsay, help me out.
Transparency. That's a funny word. To bring transparency, what I would do different. I would make myself available. I don't believe that, well, I didn't find it inviting to call my council people up to ask questions. I didn't get that feeling. I haven't gotten that feeling for some reason. I don't know why. But transparency is huge when you're coming to meetings and putting together your meetings, putting together your agendas. Those need to be seen by the people, so that way they can follow the progress and they can follow how the council is moving forward. Those documents are important to be seen. Those documents are important to be dispersed and read. I'm a policies and procedures girl. That's all I know. I know how to scrutinize, I know how to look, I know how to dig, I know how to read, I know how to apply those things. I think that following the rules and allowing the people to see where you're headed on a regular basis is very important. Whether that means better communication, better meetings in person, not in person, better audio, visual, whatever it takes. Town halls? Never seen a town hall meeting from a council person? I don't know, maybe they have done. Thank you.
All right, we've got 1 minute rebuttals on this one, starting with you, Mr. Patterson.
Let's see. I think everybody needs to get along on the council, work together, and I especially mean going after the BIA and getting that all cleaned up before we ever do anything else. And another thing is, quit the arguing and griping and hollering that's on the council. I haven't been in there but once or twice, and that's all I can get in here, but I've heard about all the griping and hollering and screaming. So I think we need to all get in there and get to work together and get on with it. Thank you.
So on a rebuttal for transparency, everything is posted on the Osage, on our Facebook page, also on the Osage Nation website. All of our documents that we have, that when we pass resolutions, everything is online. We've gone virtual. So if you want to know what we're working on or what we're doing, we have our communications that we have with our our quarterly report. We also have on the website. So, I mean, I would direct you there. That's the best thing that, on the transparency part. Thank you.
I will look in the website for those documents. I still think that there needs to be a different conversation to the shareholders, a different conversation to the producers, a different conversation for us all. I believe that transparency comes as easily as it is just presenting it out to you. It depends on our presentation to you. It depends on the things that we say. It depends on the things that we feel. And that's what I want to send out to you, and I hope that I'm able to communicate that to you as well. Thank you.
Okay, we're at closing statements. So again, you, Mr. Patterson, 2 minutes. Get to start.
Thanks, sir. First of all, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for putting this on. And I think this is not so much political, educational. It is educational a little bit, but I'm going to tell you folks something. Common sense will get us more done than anything. You got to have a little smarts about what's going on. You can't be trying to bull each other over or nothing. Next, if I am elected, I will push to get after the BIA. The superintendent, like I said, she's just the middleman. The one that you need is the men that's up in Washington DC that are making the rules, putting them down to her and having her install them. You can't wait until November when she retires or take a chance that she doesn't, and then you're behind another 10 years. And all I ask for is your vote, so I can get on, and I can help, and I will not take no lip off nobody. That's just the way I am. I'm sorry. If that hurts you, I'm sorry. But that's just the way I am. Thank you.
I can say this wholeheartedly. Having been in law enforcement for 18 years, having been in business, the way you get things done is work together. And how you do that in business is you come to the table. I've worked with divisive, I've worked with people who are looking off. I've worked with that. It doesn't work. What does work is when you get some minded, the business minds together in the room. We don't have to like everybody, but we can all come together for what would be the right thing for the Osage shareholders. I put a little sticky note right there on my desk when I'm on those meetings. And believe me, if we could have everybody back in those rooms in our chambers, I'd love it. It's been horrific to go through COVID and keep doing this. But I can tell you, no matter who is in that office over at the BIA, whoever it is, they enforce the same laws. So what do? This past week, I drove on my own dime up to Denver to make a meeting on your behalf. I sat in a room with a $1 billion table of every CEO that was in that room. They are builders. I loved it. They want to make something best for their people. Southern Ute, 3 affiliated tribes, Hickory tribe. Those were the tribes, those were the leaders, and then they had all of their CEOs of the company. They've got oil rigs in the Gulf. They've already got all their legal laws already on their books. And then you got Osage, and then there's Margot at the table. I'm a builder. I want to build a framework where we're royalty plus. I'll leave on that note.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Osage News, for the debate, for the venue. We appreciate everything, for allowing us to come up here and share our experiences and our visions with you today. I know how to run meetings. I know how they work. I know when meetings go awry, you have to pull those together. Otherwise, there is chaos, and we don't want to look like that. Our presentation is important to us. We are that multi-billion-dollar company that needs to present itself that way. I want to help do that. And I do want to hold the BIA accountable. I believe that there are policies, procedures, and protocol that's been designed to hold them accountable. It's just taking that action and taking those steps forward to do just that. Then that way, they'll know who really matters, us. And they'll do their job, because that's what they're supposed to do. If we're supposed to do our job, by golly, they're supposed to do their job. And we should do the best job that we can. And this has been a good feeling in this room today. There's been some good energy. I've got some high hopes. And I thank everybody for coming out today and spending their day with us. Thank you. So we're done.
Thank you all.
Thank you, candidates. We'll have our last round and then we'll have a break for dinner. So we'll bring up to the stage Tally Redcorn, Myron Red Eagle, Paul Rivard, Anthony Shackelford, and Everett Waller.
All right, folks, let's start with the last Minerals Council group. Start with opening statements, 2 minutes. You, Mr. Redcorn, take it away.
Hear me? Can you hear me? Number one. I'm number one on the ballot. We remember that on election day. I want to thank the Osage head right holders. I've served the Osage head right holders, and whatever happens this election going forward, it's been a tremendous honor. It's a group that I believe has a special relationship with the United States government. Something we fought hard to maintain and keep. The Osage head right holders goes a long way back to 1806 when Zebulon Montgomery Pike came to the Osages. And then things happened in Missouri, and then we went through to Kansas. And in Kansas, we moved down into Oklahoma, and we purchased this reservation with cash money. That's how our people are. All Osages. You come from that group of people, you are unique. You are a peculiar people. And the United States recognizes that. And then they made a movie about your plight, because that's how intriguing it is. So wherever you are, whatever family you come from, it's important. And I want to keep that special piece of paper that says you are an Osage head right holder. that you own a part or a piece of this magnificent reserve, 1.5 million acres of minerals. I thank you for your vote, and I thank you for your time.
Speak on here. Even though it gives you the, what you know, what you also. My name is Myron Red. I'm from the Wacompano district. I'm from the Beaver Band. It used to be called Big Heart, now it's called Barnes, Oklahoma. Seeking my third term on the Mineral Council. I served from 2010 to 2014 on the second Mineral Council. On that council, I do have my qualifications. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Oklahoma Wesleyan University. Some of the accomplishments I've accomplished and instrumented on the second Mineral Council was the scholarship program, which is ongoing today. And the newsletter I started in 2010 on the second Mineral Council also is still ongoing today with the fourth Mineral Council. Very proud of that. I teamed with the Councilman Redcorn on the 2016. I wasn't on the council at the time, on the Northland Well program that led into the well plugging program that we have today. Very proud of that also. And also teamed with Councilman Redcorn on an enhanced oil recovery grant that was very successful in using chemicals to get more oil out of the reservoirs on the Osage Mineral State. I'm very proud of what we've done, and I see I'm number 12 on the ballot, and I'm very proud of the shareholders that I represent. Thank you very much.
My name is Paul Reevard. I reside in Bixby, Oklahoma right now. My family's from Alaska. My father was George Reevard. He served on the tribal council in 2 previous terms, once in the 60s and again in the 80s. My great-grandfather Franklin served the tribe for 38 years, 30 years as a council member, 8 years as a secretary in the interpreter for the tribe. I currently serve on the Osage Minerals Council number 4, alongside these others up here. Councilman Reddy will mention a few of the committees that that this particular council established, being the Enhanced Oil Recovery Committee and the Well Plugging Committee and the Orphan Well Committee. I served with them on all these councils, and we made quite a bit of progress with those committees and doing various work on enhanced oil recovery, as well as, like earlier, Councilwoman Gray mentioned earlier, that we've plugged approximately 60 wells already with some federal funding. We've been seeking additional funding that we feel pretty confident that we'll receive. But anyway, so we have a very limited time left for this particular council. We've got several grants in application stage right now for funding for a lot of, for several different projects that maybe we'll get a chance to talk about a little bit later today. But anyway, I appreciate your support. I thank the Osage News and the moderators and all of those in attendance today, in person and also by video. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Shackelford. I'm from Osage, Oklahoma. Most of you that know me here, I used to serve on the Osage Nation Conference for 6 years, and I believe that was a good proving ground for me to pursue the Minerals Council seat. Having been a shareholder for the last 32 years, I lost my mother back in 1990, so I know what it's like to realize the importance of this Minerals Council and what it stands for. If you don't stand for something like the 06 Act and you support it, then you lose it. There's been many good things that spoke here today. They talk about seeding of land and different things, whether it's economic development, whether it's lakes, highway, when I went to Barnesville yesterday, there's a giant highway going in over there, and I started looking at that, and I'm thinking, that's taking up a lot of valuable property. So you look at certain things, there's housing developments, there's a lot of things that goes on with our minerals estate, that if we don't exercise our sovereignty, then we lose it. So again, whenever we were talking about working with each other and moving forward, I think that's vital. You look at the Bureau and they're the powerful entity in the room, make no mistake about it. But oftentimes, whenever you're working with other entities like that, it's not enough to talk to them, it's how you talk to them. And so that respect should be reciprocated back to the Minerals Council itself. I look up here and I see a lot of councilmen here today. I'm standing among gentlemen who have done a lot of great things on this council. There's Ollie and Myron, they've been here for several terms, and they've done a lot of good things. And I think there's a lot to build from. Hopefully, my experiences through my life and working and learning and coming from good people from the Homley area, I believe I have something to add to the Minerals Council. And like most people said, this is what we need to be doing. I appreciate your vote. I'm number 8 on the ballot. Thank you.
And this is how your politics works, exactly like that. You have to do something when you get into this office. I've been sitting here as chairman for the last 2 terms. What I look at is some of the answers to some of the questions, and then we'll get to who I am. Number 1, we are in a federal Supreme Court case that I am to give a deposition for in Tuesday, protecting the sovereignty of this nation. And what I'm representing is my shareholder. As you well know, 22 years ago, I'm the guy that filed that lawsuit. You want to talk about going after the government? Come see me. See where that went. I didn't settle that. I've even sat with some of these men's fathers on these councils, and I want to address my elder and Catherine. Just to see you today, I want to talk to my other elders. You men are getting a lot older, Tommy, than you think you are. That's who I'm working for. And the last person in the room is that granddaughter back there. I'm sitting here with my family, my children, my granddaughter. They've been here since 12:30. That's how I started. I got to look at Lindsay here in a minute, but I won't act like I see her. Okay, I'm looking at my 5th term. I've been a national councilman, I've been a tribal councilman, and now I want to go for my 3 terms. The last comment I do have to say about this is that now we're really going to be in a struggle. You want to talk to Washington? Come hang out with me. They called me 3 days ago. I have to make the correct decision on behalf of the Osage and there are some that you've got to agree with. I'm the only one experienced enough to know how you're going to get through your federal location. You cannot throw out a CFR code. You cannot throw out an identity for a shareholder. It's already being tested in court and it's coming in appeal. Now we'll stop there.
All right, we're going to do the first question. 2 minutes to respond, starting with you, Mr. Redcorn. Okay, do you think the Osage Nation Constitution has been successful? From Dante Halleck, excuse me if I got that wrong, from Taos, New Mexico.
Okay, we're on the Mineral Council. That question for us.
Let's do it.
Okay, it seems that we may have had a filing problem with the questions. This didn't belong in this group.
I was voted in by the Osage head right holders.
Well, it says, do you think the Osage Nation Constitution has been successful? Excuse us, folks, we're going to deliberate for just 1 moment, and thank you candidates for your patience. We're gonna do a different question. Okay, again, starting with you, Mr. Redcorn. My apologies to the candidates. Different question. First one, 2 minutes to respond. What do you see as your biggest challenge if elected or re-elected to office from Addie McLean in Houston, Texas?
Having a what in Houston, Texas?
Well, that was the citizen that submitted. The question is, what do you see as your biggest challenge if elected or re-elected to office?
Okay. Again, I'm on the Osage Mineral Council. I take it as a big honor to represent the Osage headright holders. We went through Osage Mineral Council before. We've had some big battles. I've stood on with our council in federal courts, and we've won those. We go to federal court, we take those serious. Everybody out there wants your asset, and I don't think that's going to stop. These people out here, they think this reservation belongs to them. It doesn't. It belongs to you, the Osage headright holders. And that's one thing I want to continue to fight for. Federal court, line our attorneys out, make them know, make them understand they represent, to me, the best people in this whole country. And I am totally honored to represent our Osage headright holders. The biggest challenges, I think, going forward, same thing. We're going to be challenged. We're going to be challenged. I don't know, this governor in Oklahoma, he keeps chattering and talking. I don't think he's read law a little bit. But we come first. We are preempted. We are preempted right in this. Before the state of Oklahoma was, we were. Thank you very much.
I think our biggest challenge to most people, most shareholders especially, and their children who will be inheriting their headrights soon or later, is increasing our production, increasing our payment check. That always gets asked every single time, and it's the first to be asked. How we do that, we expedite the permits as best we can. There's other theories of how to do that. I think the more leases we have that come to us, the more leases we can okay through the Mineral Council, the better off we are. Right now, we're just on totally production. Just what's out there, what's pumping right now. That's what we're doing. That's our biggest challenge. Also, expediting the permits. There's ways to do that. And we have to go to Washington D.C. to do that. There's also a tariff program that's been studied upon, and still undecided on that too. But the main thing is to increase production. And there's ways to do that through natural gas also, although only 5 or 10% of our mineral estate is natural gas. Oil is the big thing. As the world is changing, and it's a big challenge, but we can improve our leases, we can improve our permits, we can also go out and advertise a lot more too. This council has done that also. That's the main topic. I'll do my best the best of my ability to do that. And if it's a trip to Washington D.C., I'm willing to do that also. Thank you.
From what I've witnessed, the challenges that we face as a mineral estate, not just our tribal council, but of course it affects every headright owner, and not only the headright owners, but it affects all our communities, local and some not so local. When I think about that, I'm talking about our service companies that support our industry, all the different businesses in the immediate area within our mineral estate. But the challenge that's foremost in my mind is the fact that we have a reputation that's been hard. Osage County used to be a place that people flocked to come spend their capital dollars It was an easy place to operate. I mean, you had an unusual, unique set of regulations you had to learn and deal with, but it was doable. And it was low risk. It was a really good place to spend your money with a pretty high degree of success for exploration companies. But what's happened over the last decade or so is that our reputation, not just here locally, but across the whole country, has been damaged. People have heard about all the regulatory burdensome implementation of these regulations, the permitting process taking so long. It's really hard. What we need to do is we need to make some changes, make it a more competitive area for our producers to come in and drill. And then we need to get the word out to restore our reputation.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. What do you see as your biggest challenge if elected or re-elected to office?
Thank you. It's not really quite that cut and dry. I think in order to be able to overcome probably the greatest challenge will be how to entice and influence investors, which equates to producers, which equates to more drilling and more higher end on a return of investment on our minerals estate itself, is that we got shallow wells, we've got great quality of oil, we have great quality of other resources and minerals, such as dirt, rock, and certain things like that, that I don't think we're capitalizing enough on. So we have to kind of expand our array of offerings to potential investors. How do we do that? Whenever they're hearing, it's not just in this room, I mean, other people hear of the difficulties with obtaining drilling permits. You hear of difficulty obtaining well reports, where if I was an outside investor in Houston, Texas, and I was going to invest $50 million in the Osage oil fields, I wanted to have access to the records. I want to see what the well's been doing since 1906 or 1920, and how it's either inclined or declined. I want to see why. I want to know why. That the trustee, which is the FDR, the fiduciary, they have the duty and the responsibility to enhance, protect, and support the decisions that we do as a minerals council and a minerals estate, and how we establish that reputation. And that's by not just going along to get along. We have to stay tuned what exactly do we need that's supported and backed up by the 06 Act. If we don't stand by that, then we're fighting an uphill battle every day. And so for 116 years plus, we still have to, that seed was planted a long time ago by our ancestors. It's up to us to continue propagating that and fertilizing that to where it benefits the Evelyns and the Dominics and the Scarletts of the world, my kids. Someday there may not be a minerals estate, but I'm not going to let that happen on my watch. Thank you.
The first thing I would think is, number one, let's get together. There's no I in Osage. There's a we, though. And I've been on enough councils to tell you, this will be my 60th numbers of groupings of council people I've been with. You're going to have to fix that before you fix anything else. Talk about these federal regulations. Why you're in that bind is because you've had individual groups here sue the oil companies on your environmental assessment. We've taken care of that as a council. The EOR project's brought up, enhanced recovery of the oil. Who do you think's going to fight us on that one? And do not forget about this case I've been fighting for 8 years on our behalf against an $82 billion corporation. I'm living it now. And I'm going to tell you, that's one thing that we've got to have hit first. So I want to appreciate and give a shout out to my chief, my assistant chief, and my Congress members who give me enough bullets to fight the fight. And on behalf of my council, thank you.
All right, we are on 1-minute rebuttal, starting with you, Mr. Redcorn. I do just want to remind the audience to silence your phones, please. We've been doing pretty good, but there's been a few interruptions. But we'll go ahead and start with you, Mr. Redcorn, 1 minute.
Thank you, sir. On the rebuttal, all the things that's been mentioned on this stage is something we've been dealing with. And we just need to continue to develop those areas. The federal laws that we actually fought and won, and we were back at it again. We want the Osages to set our own standard, our own laws. And that's something we'll continue to do. Thank you.
Another thing that could be challenged is the drilling permit, the drilling logs, the electric logs that the BIA has. That's a challenge. They're very, very difficult to get to those. We've been working on some programs within this council that is making that better through different programs that are called M1, MI3, other programs that are helping to do that. Also, I think the biggest challenge again is the increase in production, and that would be a challenge in itself. And the drilling logs that we can get a hold of that the BIA won't let loose of, it may take a lawsuit to get it to open up on that. Thank you.
Regarding rebuttal, I don't disagree with any of the other candidates up here on the stage concerning this question. I do foresee it being challenging there's an opportunity that we've initiated to rewrite the regulations or to write our own set of laws, rules, and regulations. That, I think, is a challenge, a really large challenge. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, the CFRs have come back to us, rewritten. We don't think they're going to be acceptable. We've told the Department of Interior we're writing our own set of regs. So that will be a significant challenge for us to do it right, and be able to do it in such a professional manner that we'll be able to convince the federal government to accept our rules that we come up with. So it's one thing for us to know what it is that we might need to do.
Thank you.
Other things to get them to accept.
Thank you.
Earlier, I heard several conversations from the people on the stage, and I agreed with much of what I heard. One of the things I did hear, they were talking about a 90-day window, I believe was one of the questions. And whenever I hear things like that, I don't think of things that's, not having 90 days, if that's not enough time to be being reactionary. You have to develop a strategy well before things fly at you. And collectively together with the experience of the BIA, employees up here, Mr. Rebart's experience in the oil field, things like, there's a lot of things moving forward here that have the qualifications. So time to me is not really that much of an issue. It's about forming a strategy, having a plan, implementing that plan, vetting that plan among all the people that are qualified to sit on this council and moving forward with it. And part of that involves working with the chief's office and the BIA. It's plain and simple. That's something that we need to move forward. And if we do get elected, then let's hit the ground running. There's no time reference to say we need more time.
All right, that's time. Thank you.
I'm just gonna take a breath before I start. One thing I'd like to say about that is, one issue that they have brought up is that we've always been under 1906 as amended, but if we don't start looking at other values of this reservation under the Terra Reorganization Act, they have a TIDO out that allows tribal energy development. And the other situation is that we're identified, even in the Osage Nation Constitution, Article 15, as other items in which the tribal council was allowed. I'm going to ask my new council, if elected with your vote, let's go back to the direct service contract, let's cover everything.
Okay, we are getting to our second question 2 minutes to respond, starting with you, Mr. Red Eagle. As a minerals council member, are you in favor of the council regulating our own oil and gas rather than the Bureau of Indian Affairs? Please explain. The editorial board. 2 minutes.
Yes, just like as you explained before, we have hired an attorney out of Washington DC to instrument our own regulations as a council, as a Osage on the Osage Mineral State. That in itself is an advantage that would probably help every problem that we have today, including permits, including the pipelines, the gas pipelines, the gas meters that are very, they're not checked on very much at all. We've even hired a gas analyst to go out and check the gas pipelines and the meters, as this council has did, and he's out there right now as we speak, checking on those things. That in itself is what needs to be done. The regulations are a big part of our people, the shareholders, and all the way back to the 1906 Allotment Act. People say the 1906 Act, it's really the 1906 Allotment Act. It goes back that far. If everybody has read it or even looked it over, it explains everything that our people have accomplished and what the government decided with us to do. Thank you.
The gist of your question, but would you please, in its entirety?
As a minerals council member, are you in favor of the council regulating our own oil and gas rather than the Bureau of Indian Affairs? Please explain.
Thank you for repeating that. I don't even know that that could even be an option. Based on our 1906 Act, I'm not sure that the federal government will ever be relieved of their responsibility to us. They are the trustee of this mineral estate. It's held in trust for us, the beneficiaries. There are several different avenues that we can do regarding our own regulations or doing certain things ourselves, taking on certain responsibilities ourselves, but it will always have and come with the ultimate oversight of the federal government. I don't think that we would ever be out from underneath that fiduciary duty that the federal government has as our trustee. However, there's probably lots of things that we can do, and I know our chief has come up with some ideas. Councilman Redcorn talks about contracting quite often. There are things that we might consider doing, but I think any and all those things would still come with the oversight of the federal government, with whether it be a rubber stamping of what we do, but they will always be responsible to us. And there's our headline owners, I think, for the most part, are comfortable with knowing that they have somebody to hold responsible, and not just us group of 8 that come and go over every 4 years. So I'm in favor of new regulations and operating under different formats and different different types of avenues to do what we do, but I don't think that it's even an option to do it without the federal government's oversight. Thank you.
I think anytime you take on something of that magnitude, again, it goes back to the processes, goes back to having a strategy, a workable plan, being realistic. Do we have things in place? Are we prepared to take on something like that? I fully believe in our Osage people. I fully believe in the Minerals Council having the ability to do certain things and aspects as it pertains to the minerals estate. There's certain things that under the 06 Act and their involvement with the Bureau that affords us, without the better terminology, the 900-pound gorilla in the room whenever you're going against giants like NL and people like that. I mean, having them sitting on your side, I believe at times benefits the fight that we have to put forth. But as far as boots on the ground here, and a lot of the things we're doing, like the Greenland stuff too, I think it's imperative that we handle as much of our work that we can here, whether it's going in and trying to strengthen and amend the 06 Act where it benefits the shareholders if it gives us the ability to have more of a ease of process and responsibility to where we feel like that if we have a dog in the fight, which is we're shareholders and we're a part owner in this estate, this is our estate, and I don't think anybody's gonna fight harder than us to take care of it and protect it. And I think that's very important. So again, there's a lot more that can be looked into it right now, but this as far as saying yes or no right now, I think you have to weigh all the options and take a good look at things and vet the process. Again, I think that's been part of the issue in the past, is that there's some knee-jerk reactions that went on, and I think there needs to be a lot more looked into on this. So, again, it's kind of one way or the other, and like that, but again, I think we can handle a business better than anybody if we're asked to do it. Thank you.
I'd like to say yes, but the answer is no. You cannot come in and take over a fiduciary trust responsibility of the United States of America. Before I ship them out, they're gonna pay us. We're getting to do a NIGIM system that's gonna encompass a lot of things some of the candidates brought up. Your EIS is gonna be on there. Your production value is gonna be on there. This council's worked hard at going after these grants and delivered. Let me see the end of that. And then that question will be answered, because NIGIMS is also going to be inclusive of every other federal rights that we have. Compact and contract, I'm not scared of it. I come off national council. I come off of a tribal council. We weren't scared of anything because we were in charge. But now, if we go into that route, the answer will stay no until my chief, my assistant, my Congress, and consensus of my councils do me different. I'm not so in a shell that I can't come out of it, but you're gonna have to earn my respect, because I've been here fighting longer and harder than anybody. And I come out of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I did catch that. I'm your first gauger in the field, catching people stolen oil. I got back to the office and I got in trouble. So the rest of you field men out there, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Hey, could you repeat the question, please?
Happy to. As a Minerals Council member, mouthful, are you in favor of the council regulating our oil and gas rather than the Bureau of Indian Affairs? Please explain.
Thank you. The federal government is going to be involved in the administration of your asset no matter what, because of the 1906 Act. They are the ultimate authority, the trustee of it. They're here to protect it. And thank you.
We are in 1 minute rebuttal, starting with you, Mr. Reddy.
Yeah, as I stated before, the regulations by the Bureau of Indian Affairs from the Department of the Interior has already been put out. We disagree with them. We want to be a part of that, part of those regulations, maybe to compromise with them, change things and more to our favor as a councilman that's responsible for the shareholders. That's what we really would like to do. It hasn't turned out that yet. We're still waiting. Sometime in the future, we'll be ready for that. Thank you.
The thing is about the council, not all of us are, come with oil and gas backgrounds. So when people think about the council running and regulating our own oil and gas operations, I think that the head right owners, and that rightfully so, probably look at us thinking, do we want these people actually, do they know how to run an oil and gas company? So it's one thing for us to govern and to oversee and to develop and to make decisions that will help us develop our mineral estate. It's another thing to run a $13 billion oil company. That's basically what we have. This mineral estate is valued by the federal government at $13 billion. This is not something that 8 council members that will come in and out over the years or maybe have the qualifications to actually run on a
Thank you,
day-to-day
that's
basis.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, just to reiterate, touching on what Mr. Rebar said, and Mr. Waller, you know, I mean, just flat out making a decision one way or the other right now, there's a lot more ways into that. And I just thinking of Mr. Waller, and we're talking about NL and the there's certain aspects that I believe that may benefit the nation moving forward with the minerals estate. There's certain ones, like I mentioned earlier, that I believe we're fully prepared to handle. But again, it all boils down to the vetting process, coming up with a plan and a strategy, and making sure that those processes are adhered to, not just being carry about it. You know, I mean, there's a way to go about doing it, vetting it through the 8 people that happen to get on this council. It's imperative, again, that we work together, strive together in one direction. That's working for the shareholder. Thank you.
I think we look at our asset and what is it going to be for that child in that back of that room? What's it going to look like? I know what mine is. Mine is going to inherit everything I got. I happen to be lucky enough to be married to the prettiest Osage woman on the planet. She's back there. So I can just tell you who the boss is. It's not me, but she allows me to come and run for this council, and I thank her. Because I grew up working with her mother. I grew up with these gentlemen's fathers and their families. I'm never going to let them down. I put them away. And that's another thing too. We're all going to go home someday and be in paradise in Osage. And that just won't matter then. You better keep that other regard into the world. And that's why I want to go 3 terms as Minerals Council. I won't forget who I got here with, and I dang sure won't forget who come ahead of me.
Thank you. Holly Redcorn, number 1 on your ballot. I'm still not hearing anything that I would rebut. I think this is a challenging question. It's probably something we're going to be hit with, but again, I want to reemphasize the ultimate authority is the United States government and your trust asset. I have trust property in another tribe handled by the region or the agency office in Anadarko. Same setup. The U.S. government has the ultimate authority in some form or fashion to approve that. That's not going to change. Thank you.
Okay, we are on the final question. The editorial board, 2 minutes to respond, starting with you, Mr. Rebar. How do you keep shareholders engaged in the future of the Osage mineral estate during times of low development? It's 2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. You know, it was mentioned earlier by the other group that was up here about communication with the shareholders, transparency. That's something that at this particular council we've stumbled at, I admit. We've gone periods of time too long without communication to the headline owners. It doesn't always have to be a lengthy production like what we put out once or twice, but maybe something shorter and sweeter, more often, more frequent. But as far as engaging the headline owners, you know, one thing that I've noticed in my family, especially, we've got a large family, and as we have offspring, our headline fractions become smaller and smaller as everybody's. And sometimes it gets to a point where it's so small that some of the headline owners are following what goes on our mineral estate because their interest is just so small and they're away from the area and they don't keep up. It doesn't affect them like it does some other family members with a larger fractional share, where they may depend on whether or not they can afford medication or groceries. So But I still think it's important to reach out to every single one of them that we can and engage them as much as we can, but I can just see, I think that we need to address this situation with our fractional interest getting smaller and smaller, about how to keep them engaged. So I really don't know the answer to that, but I'm looking forward to hearing what others might have to say in that regard. Thank you very much.
I was wanting to try to be funny, tell Mr. Rubel, unfortunately, I do have an answer to that, but, what we're talking about there is, I believe, like a gathering like this. You know, it's one thing to send out newsletters and certain things like that, and one of the things that I've discovered in my work with the nation is that we do something called community-based participatory research, and we go out to the people. We don't wait for people to come to us, not today. I mean, it's a good thing that we have a gathering like this, but people are up here, they're seeking your approval, they're seeking your vote, your support, and certain things like that. They're here to put their best foot forward. Make believers out of all you, so you'll mark it on the ballot. And I think once you've got in there, I think it's important to, maybe if you do it once a quarter, to go to Hominy, go to Fairfax or Skytook or wherever that happens to be, whether it's out of state to California or Texas, those kinds of places. But you make that trek to the people and you give them those reports. You give them to them either in paper form or shake your hand and let them know what's going on. I think that goes a long way for transparency, is that it's convenient, I guess, to send things out via email. We're an email society, we're cell phone people, but again, there's nothing more, I guess, good whenever you're not feeling well, you go to a doctor. I mean, there's telehealth and some things like that, but being able to sit down with the provider and then talk to you and assure you that everything's going to be good and all these things like that, I think that goes a long way. I think that's some of the things that we lose along the way, is that, like everyone's talking about, our ancestors, those older folks, they handle stuff like that. Even when you're inviting people to the dances and certain dinners and things like that, I had people come by the house the other night, dropping off dinner invitations and stuff. They could have called me. They stopped by and they showed their support. And I think that's important that we go back and start revisiting some of those things. And I think that means something to our people. And that's how we were taught. And I think that's how we should continue doing things. Thank you.
Third Minerals Council, we had to survive the mold in our own building and offices. Fourth council come in, and not only would we have to finish cleaning up the mold, then I think we had some equipment move up to Main Street across from a location you well know. And we started with nothing. So my councilwoman and I and the council, we upgraded our systems. That's to answer this question. We reach out and we go at any valued attempt at reaching our people. We come into this group here. I do town hall meetings. I sit up nationally for the federal government all across the United States. Same thing there. We just get out there and reach to them. The other comes up is that the information is so fluid when we get it. Number one, we have to review what the United States government says. We talk to the Bureau, but you know who's in the room, Department of Justice. And then the Solicitor's Office. That's who we're really going to be start looking at. But as far as Osage people, whatever it takes to get you there, I'll do it. You get your sense of the council, we'll ride a fast horse to get to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you repeat the question?
Always happy to. How do you keep shareholders engaged in the future of the Osage mineral estate during times of low development?
Thank you. Those last council, I approved or voted yes for our audit. Something that we're having an independent group come in and look at all the financing. Going to take their recommendation and move that forward. Your money's important. The second thing is we discussed at one time to have all your accounting somewhere else in an independent body. The Mineral Council ultimately decided to put those monies under the nation's accounting process. And in that process, there is auditing procedures. So we're going to kind of double look at your money to make sure it's spent well, spent right, spent as intended. I answer each and every email that's sent to the Osage Mineral Council. If you call me, I will pick up the phone and answer it. When we have a call for writing letters into the newsletter, I get my newsletter in. What can we do to improve that? I believe we can look forward to getting more involved in social media. We might need to get a contractor because I'm not very good at it. I'm in Facebook as all of us, but all those others, I don't know. Maybe there's more areas we can involve ourselves in. Thank you very much.
In 2009, I went out with my brother, John, ready to go to California. And he visited with California and Osage out there at that time. I wasn't even thinking about being on council at the time, but the first thing he told me, he said, Myron, we don't, I said, how are you doing? He said, we don't know what's going on back home. We don't have no clue at all. And I told him, I said, well, if I ran for council, start a newsletter, will you vote for me? He said, yes. I said, that's exactly what I did. And that's engaging the populace, shareholders, everybody that's involved, that's engaging them to what's going on with the mineral council. Just like Councilman Redcorn said, our accounting is very important. We have to have transparency. Our newsletter goes out as much as we can put it out, but as far as our money is concerned. That is communication, it's transparency. It's very, very important to keep our people engaged in this, and that's why they're asking questions right now about what's going on. I got a call yesterday morning about some lawsuits that I had to, some I couldn't answer, some I could not. That's engaging our people. I also get other calls. Thank you very much.
All right, we're on 1 minute rebuttal, starting with you, Mr. Reader.
And I don't have anything to rebut. I pretty much agree with everything that's been said on this subject, and I just don't have anything more to add to it. Thank you.
And once again, just thank you for putting on this today, Shannon and your staff and the folks here from, I believe it's the Tulsa World. And again, thank you guys for a great venue. It gives us an opportunity to reach out to the people and more of a grassroots approach to things, which again, I think it's needed more of. It's just something that we're passionate about. I heard a lot of people talk today with a lot of experience, a lot of education and different things like that. But one of the things that was overarching today was the passion of the Osage people. And this is not easy to stick your name on the ballot and reach out there and try to put your best foot forward and explain to the people how your heart is. I heard a lot of heartfelt stories today, and it made me feel good. I appreciate it very much. And so again, just thank you for being here today, and again, respectfully ask for your vote on number 8 on the ballot, Anthony Shackelford. Thank you.
Just today tells us a lot of where we're heading. Just today, for us to sit down and be with each other. You know what we've been doing the last 2 years is putting our elders away, our people away. Sometimes, I do a lot of that. And what I'm thinking about is we have to go out and help whatever the situation is as a council to our shareholders. And why I want to say this part is that is reaching out to them. I handle and field questions that you usually don't get, but they have enough trust in me that I can give them a valued opinion on what they should do. And in closing, I can just tell you this. I'm pretty impressed with my guys and gals on the council. I'm very impressed with the things we have accomplished. And as far as reaching out to them, I can go farther. I can do more, but I've got to have the funding. Thank you.
I am Tolly Redcorn. I'm number 1 on your ballot. Hopefully we'll remember that on the election day. I don't have anything to rebut. The Osage word that comes to mind is "kazal." It means to ball out. If you're on the Mineral Council, you'll receive some calls and they're going to ball you out. I've had that happen many times, and you've got to listen to it. And I'll continue to do that because your message, your thoughts and prayers for our Head-Rock mineral estate is very important. It is historic. Number 1 on your ballot. Thank you.
The last several years, everybody's suffered from the COVID, and the pandemic, which took many of our people too, I know our council meetings were shut down, canceled, not canceled, but they were just cut off. But our meetings are still streamlined, and our people can, when it's working, and sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does, and they can tune in on our meetings, and that's another way of engaging. And hopefully the pandemic will slow down, the world will get better, and everything will get back to normal. Thank you.
All right, we're at a 2-minute closing statement, starting with you, Mr. Shackelford. Take it away.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here today. You think you're prepared to have all these wonderful ideas and things that you practice on saying, and get my phone out and time it just right so these little colored signs won't interrupt my thought processes. I'm getting a little bit older, so, but, once you get out here, you have it's a privilege to hear all these gentlemen, because they serve on the council, and I don't. But I'm here to learn, I'm here to speak from the eyes and ears and the voices of all of you if you choose to work in it. And if you don't, that's fine too. At least get out and vote and support the people that want to do good work for the Osage shareholder. We're very passionate about that. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, I've been a shareholder for 32 years. But my folks are gone, I've got brothers and sisters that are gone. And so like I said, you start to get to a certain point in your life and you start valuing things. And I'll be honest, back whenever I was going to college and things like that, I didn't think a whole lot about the minerals estate. And I was just at a different point in my life. Whenever you get older, you start looking at things. You start looking how the mineral estate, you always try to prepare your life to do things for your children. Prepare them for their lives. And you do the best you can to educate them and nurture them and love them and make the path right. And we all can keep it safe. And sometimes you don't feel like you never do enough, but the one thing that you can do is you can take this minerals estate and you can secure it, and you can sustain it, and you can grow it and protect it. And long all of us up here are gone, and we'll still be providing for our children and our grandchildren. And then whenever they're up there someday, they're giving these speeches and things, and they'll understand and they'll remember that the ones that come before them, they've done it for all the right reasons. And again, all of us are here because we lost loved ones, and you can never forget that. Thank you.
I think it needs to be said, I am number 4 on the ballot. That's going to be important to me. But it's also important to those other 7 members to me. I really want to admire the people who decide to come and try this. The ones that are here and been elected and come back and still keep coming. I've been that person. This is my 8th electoral. But what I feel the best about is in the element of today's society, this ain't the world my grandparents grew up in. This is not even the world my parents grew up in. These kids and our youth here now are going to face an onslaught. Right now, we're strong enough to fight for our home. We've got to be that strong tomorrow, and it's going to be through many areas. But the first one goes back to, they got to know when they meet us, they're meeting the Osage. And we do not roll over, we do not lose, and we're the first tribe that come in here, had to buy our reservation. I'll just give you a quick story to end with. Rockefeller needed that railroad in Kansas, is why some of your people got killed up there. They called the sudden man. They would walk out and kill grandma and grandchildren in line. They used to stop a train up there, and they'd say, look at that snow in July. That snow was your family members sitting there and laying there. In closing, win or lose, I couldn't be any prouder of you all. If the other comment comes is that Might as well vote me in, I'm not going anywhere.
Talmalita Sidwastaki. Mashodi Kewalawa Pele Wingse. Yetokesh. I'm a veteran of the United States Army Infantry Unit, saw gun. Something I've done things in my life that that's the most I'm proud of. That's something these Osages think highly of. We have prestigious, incredibly honorable veterans among our people, and it's something that I cherish. Have my name on the wall, along with so many of our Osages, and I'm just proud to be an Osage veteran. I have a master's and a bachelor's in engineering from Oklahoma State and the University of Oklahoma. I got a bachelor's degree in building construction from Oklahoma State at the school down there in Oklahoma. I worked 9 years in an oil company, ConocoPhillips, Conoco, then Phillips, and then we were Heritage Conoco, and I always tell them, we can't change our name here, the Osage. We have to stay one name, and that's the Osage Headright Home. And for 4 or 5 years, I had my own company, Rendezvous Resources, where we looked at CO2 sequestration for enhanced oil recovery. So I'm so glad I got that experience. I worked with an incredibly talented engineer in Tulsa, a chemist, and a Phillips employee at Phillips. So we looked at that, possibilities worldwide, and now we're looking at it at home. First grant I wrote was, and it was I'm about ready to lose my time. I had a lot of things to say. Number 1 on your ballot.
I'd like to thank the moderators and the Osage News for this debate. And in 1914, my grandfather on my mother's side, Roman Logan, was on the council. In 1923, 22, 23, my grandfather on my dad's side, Paul Reddick, was assistant chief at the time. Nika Washidonka was the chief. My history, my family goes way back, and even on my mother's side as well. My uncles were on the council. My dad was on the council. He was assistant chief. My brothers were on the first Congress. One of my older brothers was a chief of the tribe at one time. And now it's me. So I have a lot of history behind my family, and it's been very much an honor to serve on this council for the Osage shareholders, the Osage annuitants. I'm very proud of that, and I would like to continue to do that after my third term. One other thing I want to mention is the teamwork. It's teamwork. There has to be teamwork anytime you have any kind of council or whatever you want to call it. I've teamed with Councilman Redcorn on a natural gas grant, another natural gas grant. It's just been submitted, just like Councilwoman Grace said last week, and for a feasibility study on electricity. If y'all remember 2019 Oklahoma natural gas ran out of gas. It's very, very critical that we watch for our elders, the Osage Nation, and our reservation as an emergency basis on natural gas, the fuels. All right, number 12 on your ballot, it's a 2 with a 1 on the ballot. Thank you.
Again, my name is Paul Weavard. My experience in the oil and gas industry started right after school. I went to Northeastern A&M College in Miami for a year. Went to OU for 2 years, studied geology over there. Detroit Land Management at OSU for 2 years. Left school and went to work for Halliburton for 1 year. And joined my father when I was 25 years old. I drilled my first well here in 1977. So for 45 years I've been drilling wells, most of which have been here in Osage County. But I've also drilled wells in Texas, Michigan, Nebraska, Arkansas as well. But This is where I'm most comfortable. This is what I call my backyard. It's convenient to operate. I really enjoy operating in here. It's my family's roots. Really proud to follow in their footsteps. But just real quick, I want to, of course, thank the Osage News for putting this on for us and all the people here, especially the elders. But I also want to say thank you to Archie Mason that gave us our opening prayer. I so much enjoy these prayers from our elders. It really hits me deep in my heart to hear these words spoken, whether it be in the Osage language or English. It's just wonderful to hear these kind, holy words coming from these elders. And I just want to appreciate that. And real quick, a shout out to, I want everybody to know that 2 of our candidates couldn't make it because of illness. So don't fight against them. They'd be here if they could be. That would be Jeff Patton, who got COVID when we were all out in California. Look at his, they'll have some stuff online and in the paper. So take a look at that, and as well as Stephanie.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Before we break for dinner, we're gonna have Archie Mason come up and lead us in a prayer for our dinner. I'll bring the mic back.
It's that time of the evening where we've heard many voices and many things said to us. It's now time to break bread together. I want to thank all of our cooks back here preparing and working throughout the day. Almighty Father God, we come once again, we say thank you again for the privileges that you've given us to listen, to have our ears open and our hearts open, our minds open, and to hear the things that were said by these very important leaders of tomorrow. And just thank you for all of these things, Almighty Father. Thank you for the spring season. Thank you for the rain and the thunder and the lightning and the wind, Father God, that comes and cleans and washes our land, Father. And for the people here that's taking care of our Mother Earth and everything that's within her, Father God. Take care of them, that they take care of us, and you take care of all of us. Bless us, O Lord, for these our gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
All right, we'll take a break and come back at 7:30 for the Chiefs debate.